We're heading north to the beautiful city of Lyon. The trains of Europe really give you a nice smooth ride, and they pass through this lovely countryside, this great scenery, and the tracks are all welded so there's no clickety-clack as you go. Passing a large nuclear power plant there, and you see how we're beating the cars on the highways and arriving in the heart of the city of Lyon. We're going to show you the old town, and we're going to show you the new town as well. The whole center of town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I'm standing in the heart of the old town of Lyon. This is on Rue de Boeuf. It's one of several streets that are for pedestrians only. A few cars come through, of course, and scooters and delivery trucks, but by and large, this is a quiet and peaceful pedestrian zone. Very ancient. It dates back to the Middle Ages, probably 600, 700 years old in some cases. It's been designated by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, showing the importance and the beauty and the historic quality of this amazing neighborhood. It's a particular part of the city of Lyon, which is a large city. It's got a modern industrial base. It has a big downtown area. It also has a very nice modern shopping area for pedestrians with a central promenade that's lined with department stores and modern boutiques of all kinds. That's just across the river from the old town. The most interesting part of the new town is the section between the rivers. There's several beautiful plazas with fountains, like Place des Jacobins, and there's Place de la République, and there's a main promenade for pedestrians lined with modern stores. And it seems there are restaurants everywhere in Lyon, which is most famous as being the gourmet capital of France. And there's a number of less expensive hotels. Hotel des Artistes, it's a 3-star hotel in the middle of this new section of town, very pleasant. The oldest part of town is this Roman amphitheater. It's so well preserved that it's still in use today for concerts. Lyon was founded by the ancient Romans, who made this their capital of all of Gaul, what is today France. But really the most charming part of Lyon for the visitor is this old town neighborhood. There's maybe 5 or 6 main lanes like this that run through it, and some smaller cross alleys, and then some very narrow passageways, which is one of the unique qualities of the old town of Lyon. They're really corridors through buildings, covered passageways, and they're semi-public. You can walk through if you can find them. Some of the entrances are open and you can see these little passageways from the streets. Others are closed by a door, but it's unlocked, and you're certainly allowed to walk through there as a public right-of-way. Again, if you can find them, it's a little bit of a trick, but it's part of the charm of this old town. In the main lanes, these half a dozen main pedestrian lanes are lined, of course, with shops, with art galleries, antique stores. There's a few hotels here and quite a few restaurants and bars and cafes. It's an extensive zone. It goes for nearly a mile in length, and it's about 4 blocks wide. Any time of day it's interesting. We're here right now in the morning, actually before the shops have opened. So there's just a few people walking by. 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning. It's a nice time to be out here to see it. And then the shops open at about 10 a.m. and stay open till 6 or 7 p.m. And the restaurants are generally open for lunch from 12 to 2, and then for dinner from 7 p.m. till 10:30. But you will find some cafes that are open all day, and some brasseries, some creperies that can serve you a light meal anytime you please between 12 noon and midnight. So there's a lot of dining and snacking opportunities here, and shopping, of course, but mostly sightseeing, just strolling and enjoying the historic character of these narrow alleys. There's Rue Saint-Jean is the other main street of the old town, and as you'll see, it's just a great place to take a walk. It's a real medieval experience that you don't get to see in very many places in Europe. There might be a couple dozen spots like this on the continent. So this is one of those very special places, the old town of Lyon. Inside these ancient buildings, there's a lot of modern things going on, such as this artist studio. There are dozens of art galleries in this old section of town, and there are some parks. The hill is quite lovely and landscaped with these waterfalls and shrubbery, and staircases will lead you right up the hill if you choose to go that way. The heart of the old town is the Cathedral. This was built in the 13th through the 15th centuries and right on up through the 17th century until they finally finished it. And the old town grew up around the cathedral. So you have this medieval atmosphere every place, especially in the traboules. These are the passageways that go through the mid-blocks and connect into the inner courtyards and lead you up to the residential apartment blocks that are behind these commercial facades. This old section along Rue Saint-Jean especially is so attractive during the day as well as at night. And of course there's many restaurants you can pick from. Now we've hopped back over to the newer section of town and passing through the Café Anglais and checking out the metro. They have a nice metro system as well as a funicular that could take you up this hill, or you can walk up the hill for a spectacular view out across the city, especially interesting at sunset. Next morning we're up and we're ready to check out of our Hotel Boscolo. This has been a very nice stay in Lyon, and the Boscolo Grand Hotel was a nice 4-star home away from home. But it's time to leave and move along. We're zipping by taxi over to the train station, and here you pass through another section of the newer part of town. Some very modern buildings. Check out these mirrors. Although in this neighborhood over towards the train station, there's really not much to see. So we hop on our train and go. And we are heading to the small town of Annecy. A couple hours away by train, and it's going to be another treat. We're traveling from Lyon to Annecy by train. It takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it's a beautiful journey. There's lovely countryside along the way, farms and rolling hills and forests. There's some farm animals. We're seeing some cows and sheep and horses as we glide by. So it's a very pleasant journey. And when we get to Annecy, we're hoping to see a cute little village. It was a Sunday morning and we didn't quite know what to expect. Most of the shops seemed to be closed in the main section of downtown, but as we walked towards the river, we saw more and more people, and especially as we got through these arcades and through a couple of these arches into the old section of town, we discovered a big market going on. Sunday morning is a great time to be here. We're in the village of Annecy in France, one of the most beautiful villages in all of Europe. And at this spot you can see why. There's canals, there's old buildings. The Palais de Lille is here as they considered the most photographed building in the countryside of France, perhaps second only to the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower in Paris itself. This is a very popular village, and on Sunday mornings they have a marketplace. Now we're going to spend the next couple of minutes simply wandering through the marketplace, through the arcades. This would be a lovely part of town even on a normal day when there's nothing special going on. But especially on a Sunday morning, wow, it really comes to life. It is so filled with energy and activity and with people and olives. We're in France after all, and they love their olives. Okay. You can get some tapenade, that's the ground up crushed olives. They're giving away some free samples there. Some unusual artichokes. All sorts of things for sale besides food. They've got books and clothing and old bric-a-brac and junk, and just a great spot for people watching. Sheltered in these medieval arcades, you can imagine that This has been going on here for probably 500 years in pretty much the same way as it's functioning today. One of the rules in these markets is you don't touch the food yourself. You just point and the merchants will grab the items for you. Escargot! And look at this big rooster! This is some kind of champion. The owners are so proud of him, they bring him along to market day to help attract a small crowd for his kiosk. This is a colorful spot, that's for sure. There's fresh baked goods, there's cheeses of all kinds, and there's even some souvenir shops with their postcard racks. Most of the people here are not tourists, though. They're mostly local residents or perhaps some French tourists. Annecy is a very popular town in France for the French to come and visit. It's about 4 hours away from Paris by train, so it's too far to come for a day trip. If you're coming from Paris, you'd want to spend at least a night or two here. And there's other towns in the nearby region to explore. And there's the pretty Lake Annecy, which is claimed to be the cleanest lake in all of France. This medieval island in the midst of the river is really quite something to walk through. Kind of reminds you of a small Swiss town, perhaps Lucerne on the waterfront. We are very close to the Alps, and they share the Alpine culture. Up on this hill is the Castle Museum. If you've got the time, it's worth a stroll up there, or you could go up just for the view looking out across the village. But we don't have the time to go in there today. We're moving along. On to Avignon.